Isn't that a fitting song at the moment? Queen and David Bowie, Under Pressure, as we tick on to 8:40. And of course, speaking of under pressure, parents are under pressure a lot at the moment, dealing with COVID-19, of course, particularly in those situations where you've got families that have separated. So it can be very hard, particularly with social distancing, to even see your kids. Joined on the phone now by Cheryl Duffy. She's a divorce coach and author. Cheryl, good morning. How are you?
Hi, Billy. Great, thank you.
Good to hear. Now, Cheryl, I just mentioned there in the introduction that, of course, the world at the moment is very panicked and concerned. And particularly when it comes to families, there's a real worry out there about how to protect your kids. But for families that are divorced or going through a divorce, it's even harder with social distancing, isn't it?
Absolutely. And people are very confused whether they should be handing their children over for the swap overs or whether they should be keeping them at home and safe. So there's a lot of anxiety and stress in trying to work through those challenges.
Yeah, and it's even harder to do when you're obviously not with your partner anymore, isn't it?
Yes, because it's already very stressful having a co-parenting relationship, as you can imagine. There's lots of tension and arguments. So this is just exacerbating that.
Yeah. Now, you've got some top 10 co-parenting tips for COVID-19, is that right?
I've got some tips on how to go about making sure that your family stays safe and how you can still see your children.
Oh, sounds good to me. What can we get some assistance here?
Okay, so basically your court orders that you have in place for your custody are still to be adhered to. So unless you're being directed that you have to self-isolate because you've been overseas or you have someone in your household with coronavirus, then you still need to make sure that the children are being able to see both parents according to those custody orders.
Right, okay.
So some people are feeling very confused. So if they basically work by the custody orders still stand, then they'll be fine. But obviously both parents are needing to ensure that they are following the government guidelines in the social distancing and making sure, the children are having minimal risk to the exposure of the virus.
So, Cheryl, just to confirm on that point, of course, if you do have negotiated terms of seeing the kids, they cannot be changed because of COVID-19?
No, you're supposed to still be adhering to those, except where there's, where people are interstate and they're needing to catch domestic flights to do the handovers of the children, where the children might be sent to a parent in Queensland or one to Victoria. Then it's a case of, okay, there's restrictions now, you can't do that. But if you live half an hour across the border and you usually drive your children over to the other parent to drop them off, that still can go ahead because the border restrictions are allowing court orders to be exempt. So you can still do that. But bearing in mind, once you take the children over there, the children have to go into 2 weeks of self-isolation. And when you get back after dropping the children, you have to go into 2 weeks self-isolation. So sometimes it's good if the parents can sort of work together to work out what's the best interest for the children. So I know that people are very anxious because they feel that, this could be weeks or months that they may not see their children. But you're having to take into consideration whether the child's got a chronic health condition that's putting them into that sort of risk may be something that should be avoided for the child's sake. So you've got to sort of put the children first instead of thinking, it's my turn, it's my time to have the children. So, particularly where people don't even have parenting orders in place, they may just have a parenting plan. So there's two distinct differences there because the parenting plan that you set up was just an agreement that you did with your partner, but wasn't actually sort of put through the courts or anything like that. So it's just a guideline, but it's not enforceable by the law. So this is where I'm finding there's a lot of parents who are withholding their children and the other parent doesn't have a legal leg to stand on. And unfortunately, they can't do a recovery order at this point in time unless there's a real safety issue.
Can
So
I just add one more thing, Cheryl, as well? Sorry. We're seeing a lot of people, using a lot more social media. They're using the apps like WhatsApp, Messenger and all of that to speak with each other, to see each other. Surely that's a great assistance. I mean, I know nothing compares to holding your kids in your arms, but of course there are other ways to see your kids on a regular basis.
yeah, absolutely. So using the social media, you can use Zoom, FaceTime, WhatsApp, as you say, to be able to have that person, that parent that's sort of isolated. They might be self-isolating, or they may be agreeing to keep the children within the one family home to reduce the risk. So they can use all those social media or technology to help them stay in contact and be able to talk and chat to each other and even see each other, which is great.
Exactly. And I think at the end of the day, I mean, children should always come first in these sort of situations. And of course, it doesn't help with the added anxiety that's out there surrounding this virus. Pardon me. Clear my throat. But I think been doing a lot of talking this morning. But of course, these are the important times where parents need to know that there is a way through this. And of course, the kids are asking lots of questions. I've had parents calling me up and writing me emails about how to tell your kids about COVID-19. And obviously, if you've got a good relationship, a strong marriage where you can work together on this, it makes it a lot easier. But when you're separated, there can be different messaging coming out. So, of course, I'm sure you would agree, Cheryl. There are ways in which you can deliver the same message to your kids about this.
Yeah, as long as both parents are adhering to the government guidelines, they can talk to the child and just say it's safe to not go out and minimise the risk of catching COVID-19. But they don't want to sort of scare the children too much, so it's best to stay calm and just say, through this time we just have to be safe and make sure that we're minimising the risk. I think that if we can act in a calm way, show leadership and show that we're working together as parents to make sure the children are safe, and doing that respectfully and not sort of having arguments or conflict, which makes the children very uneasy as it is. They're already fearful of this COVID-19 that they've heard from. Their schools have been closed down and they're sort of feeling, what on earth is going on? So it's very important for parents to basically be reassuring their children that, everything's going to be fine. We just need to follow these guidelines, and mum and dad are going to help them stay safe.
That's some very good advice there. Of course, I've been speaking with Cheryl Duffy. She's a divorce coach and author, and she's also the author of a great book, The Divorce Tango. Cheryl, thank you so much for your tips and advice.